thrilled with it now. I never dreamt that I'd be reduced to being a prop. I guess there are worse things in life. But tonight I'm here as a neighbor and as a citizen of off the clock. I live just a little bit from here up in West Wash Park. I was telling the senator it's great to be back at Spanky's. I played on when I was a young guy, just a few years out of college, in the late 80s, played on a soccer team that was sponsored by Spanky's, so we spent an awful lot of time here, and it's good to know it's still going strong. So what I'd like to briefly share with you about, perhaps you've heard of 2A, and as Senator Aguilar said, it is our de-Brucing measure. What we're doing is basically asking your permission, our permission, to retain the taxes that we currently collect under the current rates. As I think you know, Tabor does a couple of things. On the one hand, it requires a citizen vote before any taxes are raised. The other piece that came with Tabor that I think, I don't know if it was an intended or an unintended consequence, but created this draconian cap on revenues that you can keep as a city, whether they're sales tax or in this case property tax. And because of that, over 85% of the cities and towns in Colorado have de-Bruced. That is, asked permission to retain these property taxes that they're already collecting. It would do a couple of things for us. I guess it's well documented. If you get a paper or listen to the radio or watch television, we've had, like every other municipality and county, probably in the country, we've had a devil of a time with our budget. A very significant gap because the money that we've been able to take in is reduced greatly during this recession, and regular folks like us, you still expect the same level of services, and that's been harder and harder for our city to do. And what approving 2A and allowing us to keep this, the property tax that we already collect, would cut that deficit dramatically, and it would do a handful of things. It would allow us to hire 100 new police and fire recruits. We haven't had a new police or fire recruit class in 4 years. We've also fallen way behind on the maintenance of our vehicles, public works, fire trucks, police cars, and it would allow us to invest in 1,000 new vehicles in those departments. Also, and this is something I know I sure have noticed in my neighborhood, you may have as well, one of the places that we've been holding back the last few years is the annual paving schedule. We have 300 lane miles of city streets that are overdue for resurfacing. And most of them are side streets, neighborhood streets, rather than the busy streets or the state highways. A couple of other areas are the rec centers and our libraries in particular. I'm not sure of your branch library, but many of our branch libraries have been reduced from a 48-hour business week to a 32-hour business week, which has a real impact on adults and children and everybody in between. So with the passage of 2A, if you'll agree, it will get our branch libraries back up to a full 48-hour week. And then lastly, we have quite an issue in our Human Services Department with many programs that work with Parks and Rec and others that help kids when they're outside of school, unsupervised children. And we have quite a waiting list of kids for those services. So 2A also would allow us to provide kids with access to the swimming pools, rec centers, after-school programs, and the like, which we think that Mayor Hancock thinks is very, very important as that partnership that we have with DPS. So we feel that we are on the road to recovery. Things are starting to get better throughout the country, and particularly in Denver. And getting over this hump with 2A will really allow us to continue and restore many of the services that most of us are used to getting. So I'll leave it at that. I'm happy to answer any questions, or if I can't, I'll find an answer for you. But yes, please.
So when you said that the city should be able to keep the money that it already collects.
Correct.
I take it the city's not sitting on a pile of money.
No.
So fundamentally, are you talking about a tax increase, rate increase? Is that what you're talking about?
It's not a tax increase. It would be a cessation of refunds that we do every year. Most of us, I wasn't aware of this either. On our tax bill, we're refunded money every year over the Tabor limit. This would put an end to that and allow us to keep that. I think the average right now, for an average Denver home, the tax credit that's being refunded is $186 a year. Is that correct? Did I get that right? $186.
$9 a month.
Excuse me, $111 a year, about $9 a month. So It would not be a tax increase. That tax is already being collected.
So does
I'll
this,
go to you next. Ray?
can you explain the ratchet effect? I don't understand the ratchet effect.
I will try. Kadisha Haynes from the campaign will then tell you the real answer. My understanding of the ratchet effect is Tabor resets revenue limits, and with a cyclical economy like ours and everybody else's, when things go up and down, when things are up, that's your new limit. When things go down, which they can do pretty quickly, that becomes the new low limit. So as we come out of it, as we come into a recovery, we're still stuck at that lower limit. So we're not able to flow with the market. Is that
Perfect.
close?
Perfect.
What, perfect?
It is.
That's my C-spot run understanding of it. Yeah.
And this is like a permanent diversity measure. You're not going to have to re-vote on this every couple of years.
This is permanent. Yeah.
I thought I
Yes, sir.
heard that a lot of other cities already have done this.
Yes. About 85% of the cities in Colorado have. So kind of as we started going down this path, one of the questions was, how in the world has Denver not already done this? I mean, most of the other communities around the state have. And I believe we de-bruised our sales tax years ago, and we did not include the property tax. So this would include both, as most others have. So I'll come back to you just a second. Yes,
Will
ma'am?
there be an opposing viewpoint given on this amendment?
I don't think there is tonight. As the senator said, I don't think we have. There's not any formal opposition.
And I can make a few statements.
Yes.
Sure.
I am opposed to 2A,
Did you come up with?
and the reason I came tonight, I thought that the information stated there would be two sides, and former councilwoman at large, Susan Barngels, came out in a recent editorial comment or a contributing comment to the Denver Post that she opposed 2A. And the reason she opposed 2A was that Denver could not afford increased taxes. It's at a time... Pardon?
They're trying to come through the door.
If you all could move to your left. Fine, yes,
He wasn't-
that's
I
what
think it would be safer.
it was.
I was watching your back as we said.
She stated it would be bad for jobs, and we have an 8.7% unemployment here in Denver, bad for businesses, bad for homeowners. We have still a large foreclosure rate. And the income of people in Denver, similar to across the country, has declined 5% in 2011 alone. Now, when you add increased taxes, a permanent tax increase, at a time when we are maybe barely recovering from a recession, we are at risk for damaging our fragile economy even more. I don't think we need to spend or invest, as the programs called it. I think that Mayor Hancock needs to have more creative vision. That would not be increased spending. We have a spending problem. And I think that vision should be the creativity of privatizing some of the works of the city and have true competition and bring down the costs. We increase administration and we never say this money could go anywhere. It's an open-ended, general fund, constitutional amendment to de-Bruce. I think it's harmful to our citizens.
I greatly appreciate that viewpoint. I heard of Planet Money on the privatization in Colorado Springs, which disappointed me by saying that they couldn't really show they'd save the money. Now it's been another year. Does anyone have data that the privatization in Colorado Springs did save money? Because that was the hope, but I don't know that we have data on that.
So there's a privatization of what?
A lot of city services in Colorado Springs were privatized a year or two ago, and the expectation was that that would save money, and I'm not sure that that's actually panned out. I'd love to hear that it had, but.
I don't know, and this isn't about privatizing city service, I don't know.
Well, that's
No,
right.
but that would
Which
be
is a
a
reasonable
way,
approach.
Sure.
that would be a way where, we don't have money. Taxpayers, this would be a 10% increase. We also have 3A and 3B. That could be a 19% increase. We have a spending problem, we don't have the money. Susan Barnes-Gelt has been a visionary, I do believe, with her planning and what she believes will work for Denver. She's not ready for 3A and 3B either until we have more reform in school. But she comes out strongly against 2A, and I wanted you to know another side of the story. Where they have privatized, because they're going off the fiscal cliff, is what, and I don't have the data, but even the Democrat mayor in Chicago, Rahm Emanuel, has tried to save the city by privatizing some major works of the city. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. I do appreciate the balance of it all. And I would like to say, with all due respect to former Councilwoman Barnes-Gelt, the newspaper in which her guest column appears, and she did articulately oppose 2A, which is her right. The Denver Post has written an editorial in support of it, and there are scores of neighborhood groups, citizen groups, and business groups around the city that are in favor of it, as well as thousands of individuals. So,
Has the city council?
you know,
I was just going to see if the city council has taken a stance.
yes, yeah, they're the ones who put it on the ballot.
And were they divided at all, or unanimous?
I don't know if it
Yeah.
was.
Okay.
Did Jeannie vote? I mean,
Unanimous.
did Jeannie vote for it as well? Sometimes we have.
Okay.
I doubt that Judy Fox
I don't know if it was 12 to 1 or 13 to 0.
And that's the usual rate on fiscal.
At worst, it was 12 to 1. So, you had a question, ma'am?
My husband had a question. He's not here tonight, so we are saying that we haven't hired any new police officers in 4 years, but
No recruit classes.
we live near the Isle of Police Training Center at Harvard Galton Park, and there's always a lot of activity around there, and he didn't know why it's so busy if we haven't been bringing in new recruits. You may not have the
I don't know, but my guess would be two things potentially. Ongoing training for existing staff.
That's what
And I don't know if that's a shared facility or not. We might have, I mean, I don't know, but it's very common to have the county, the surrounding counties, or Lakewood, or Aurora, or whatever, share us. I know we do that with fire. I don't know if we do it with that facility. But that's my best guess. And that's an unofficial answer.
Okay.
Anything else? We have some literature here. Flyers would be happy for you to take with a little bit more information. If you're so inclined, we'd love for you to have a yard sign. Kadisha Haynes in the red sweater and cool cap would take your name and make sure we get a yard sign to your house. And if you have no other questions, I'll let you move on to your next item.
The
Yes?
Profile, Washington Park Profile newspaper, which is commonly available, I think it's out here, does have some discussion of these issues. And I thought it was fairly well written.
Great. Thanks. Thank you, Senator. I appreciate the time. Thanks, everybody, for coming out.